Jordan.
Ian.
Who got the opportunity to interview a medium and ended up with the snottiest of all noses on the day of recording?
Kieran O'Keefe?
No. Two guys. What's up? That sounded a little bit Christopher Walken-y, didn't it? Huh? No, two guys, what's up?
It did.
Hello and welcome to episode 189 of Two Guys What's Up, the weekly comedy podcast where today I might sound a little bit more reserved. But there's no time to explain that this week because today we've a packed episode.
Oh yeah!
And one guy who is here to explain just what that is this guy. It's Jordan. Jordan, what are we going into today?
Well, Ian, we're changing tack, aren't we?
We are.
We have for ourselves a little special one.
A super interview special.
Oh yeah! Because we were lucky enough to interview medium Pamela Hayward. And long-time listeners will know that name because she actually took part in our 2025 October live show, where she demonstrated those skills in front of an audience. But today, we have her all to ourselves. Now, Pamela did recently appear on James Coppert's 40 News podcast, and if anyone hasn't listened to James's show, please do so, because you are in for a massive treat.
Absolutely, yeah, we'll link it down in the description. He also has a Patreon as well, where he sticks out loads of interesting extra content.
Oh, yeah.
And he's on top of that shit. You know, we release one bonus episode a month, but he's like, episode, write-up, picture, video. Kind of making us look bad.
He is. I have hired that hitman.
Toothpick guy.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Nice.
2:45, 3 p.m, something like that, and the deed will be done, Ian.
Nice. Watch your olives, James.
But knowing James, he'll know some actual psychics or something and they'd have told him.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be on top of it.
Never mind. But yes, I'm super excited. And Pamela, like always, was just generous with her time and was a genuine pleasure to be around.
Yep.
So thank you, Pamela, if you're listening. And also thank you for answering our plethora of questions.
Yeah.
So without further ado, Ian, shall we get right into it?
Let's do it, pal.
Nice.
So today we have Pamela joining us. Some of you might recognise her voice from the live show that we did in October of 2025. She is a medium, an all-round wonderful person, and she's here to talk to us about mediumship, how it works, and more specifically, what it looks like through her eyes. So Pamela, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's lovely to be with you both again.
Yeah, it's just lovely to see you again. It has been a little while.
It has.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
And I'm super excited about this because it is not every day that we get to ask questions all over the spot for a medium. It's very exciting and we're privileged to have you. So
bless you. Thank you.
So shall we begin?
Let's do it, John.
All right. So, Pamela, could you explain to me, because I think you've said before there's a difference between a psychic and a medium, because I think a lot of people think they're the same.
Yes, they do. And I think there are lots of working psychics who think they're mediums.
Okay.
All right. And the difference between the two is, I'll do it in the simplest way because that's how Spirit World have always taught me. The way my mind works is they keep it really simple. So you will have all seen the Ready Brick advert.
With the little glowing
with a glow.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, with a little glow around the person. So if you visualise that and find the Ready Brick advert if you don't know what it looks like.
We'll link it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And that's your auric field.
Okay.
So that glow that's around the Ready Brick man or boy is your auric field. That auric field expands quite a width away from the body, okay?
Oh, okay.
Within that auric field, your energy field contains all of the possibilities for your life.
Is that every possibility in the sense of every option that you could take?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So let's think sliding doors. Do I do this? Do I do that? And then we do this and then we turn left. All that kind of stuff. So it contains everything. In terms of your psychic energy, every one of us will go near to somebody and kind of go, oof, feel like I've known you for ages. That's your psychic energy field bumping into theirs. There's an understanding there, a recognition, or just an awareness that this person is, let's say, generally quite a good person. You'll go towards other people and you'll kind of go, oof, not for me. And you're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone. You take your energy away and you move away. So we all can feel that. So we all have that psychic skill. How many times does your phone ring randomly and you just kind of go, oh, that'll be so-and-so?
Yeah.
Or you think about them and your phone rings because we've got a psychic field to operate within. So when you go have any reading that's divination with the use of a tool, dowsing, tarot cards, any of that kind of oracle cards, all that kind of stuff, somebody is reading from your auric field the potential. You will have shuffled the cards, you will have put your energy into those cards. So what comes out in the spread will have accuracy.
Right.
Okay?
I see.
But you can develop your mediumship through working with your psychic ability. So practicing using cards and all of that kind of stuff, you relax into it. You start to understand there's more to life than get up, go to work, all of that kind of stuff. You live and then you die. And so you practice with all of this, and then randomly, or through your training, you just get that suggestion of something in your mind. And it's that question of like, oh, where did that come from? Okay. And that can be how you start off.
Right.
And I'm sure I said this recently as well, about you can up your skill set by... So for me, I'm quite cynical. I've always been cynical. It has to be about logic, has to be about evidence. Because if you don't deliver the evidence, you can be criticised. Okay? Yeah. So for me, it has to be evidence. And that's what's expected in the spiritualist realm, is you have to deliver evidence of survival. If you deliver evidence of survival, then what you're telling people here on the earth plane is that we don't die, we live on. The energy that's us, that animates us, lives on. Yeah. We just drop the physical form. Yeah. That's it. So those that we've loved and lost, still around, still kind of keeping an eye on us, and we will join them. And they still love and care for us just as much. So our job as a medium is to prove that person, prove that energy. Yeah. I do it, and I've taught it to lots of different people. You do it on kind of like the Guess Who basis.
Right.
Like if I was describing you two, you're both different heights. There might be similarities in kind of that your hair's short, or that you've got beards, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But build is descriptive. What somebody used to wear. Yeah. You know, there's other information. And other mediums in the past would have been able to give full names, addresses. Some of it is about how you want to work, and how you want to work is what you describe to your worker spirit side. Okay. And you do some of that development and that learning through sitting in church services, for example, and watching other mediums work. And in your mind, you're thinking, oh, that's amazing. I would love to work kind of like that. And there'll be some mediums that you're like, oh, that's not for me.
Oh, I see. Like styles of it.
Yes, exactly. So you establish your style. The difference is that when you do the psychic stuff, is that you're always going to get accuracy because you're reading it from somebody's auric field. Right. Okay. As a sitter, you would walk out of there quite positive because you've been given something that you believe is true, because the cards have picked up your energy. They've delivered that. So you come out of there feeling really good. But cards, for example, offer you an option for your future. And then it's up
so
to
you can choose to veer.
There may be something in there that's a little bit of a warning, that's kind of like, maybe you need to think a little bit differently about such and such. You walk out of there, you do think differently, you've changed that path. Yep. So what was imagined for the next 6 months is then somehow changed because you've made a decision.
Yeah.
I guess that is what skeptics would pick up on, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the annoying thing, because they're looking at the same mechanism but from the wrong side.
Yes. And then you can add to that as well that there are also people that look at it from an entirely logical perspective. They want the logic element of it. And that's often the men, understandably, because that's often a men's processing kind of view. And I'm quite logical myself, in as much as I want the evidence. If you don't bring me the evidence, I'm not going to work. And so that's my trade-off with who I work with, spirit side. Needs to be evidential. If it's not evidential, I'm not doing it. Right. Which is why in my early days, I used to describe weddings and houses. They would walk me through a deceased person's home, because that is a memory that somebody would hold and kind of like, so where did I get that from? I didn't read that from the person. Yeah. Right. And sometimes the confirmation of that is you would give someone communication, especially in your practice over time, that they would have to then go check. It was not a memory known to them. Right. So when logically people challenge you and kind of go, well, you just read their mind.
Well, also, that's impressive.
Well, exactly. You know, so it's kind of like they had to go check. Yeah. And the same with weddings, believe it or not. People would go away and kind of go, really didn't remember that I'd got purple in my bouquet.
All right, and they go and look at
a
picture.
And they go and re-look at it.
So that's not even something that they know.
They would have known back then, but it's not a current thought. So it's upstairs, as I call them, delivering all those little tiny bits of detail. Right. And the evidence is always the tiny bits of detail.
Yeah. So am I thinking correctly in sort of from that everybody has psychic abilities? Like you say, when you're bumping into someone, that's your psychic field, but that can progress to mediumship?
Yes.
Right.
Through work. It's through your effort, through your training, through all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And there are lots of people who do mediumship who don't know they're mediums.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that, though, is a lot of the people that you guys will know about through poltergeist activity, weird stuff that's happening in the house because they have no control, because they don't even know that there needs to be control. And that's the other big thing that people can be not aware of. And that in itself can be double-edged as well. You can teach people how to close down, and some people don't want to do that because they feel that they will lose connection with a family member who comes to talk to them while they are asleep.
Yeah.
But as we've talked about earlier, you're opening a door to a portal where you don't know who's going to communicate, or you're leaving a door open.
Yeah.
And in so doing, while you are asleep or trying to go to sleep, it's like sleeping in a room with 50 radios all on different channels. You just have all the Patrick Swayzes of the spirit world wanting to come back and chat to Demi Moore. They don't mind who they're chatting to.
So if that door was left open, would that only bring through other people who are wanting to get messages to loved ones or people who are still alive? Or could that also lead to like malevolent spirits coming through?
Literally anything.
Anything, because it's like leaving your nightlight on. It's just like leaving your own nightlight on.
It's like
an invitation. Yep, I can be communicated with. Woohoo, here I am.
Right.
So if your routine is that you close down before you go to sleep, and that's like, I've done my day, I'm going to sleep now, you know, my physical body needs to rest, we'll chat tomorrow. That's what's called an intention. So when you're working with your spirit workers, you set intentions. So for example, you don't want to be woken in sleep state, and as much as anything, the reason for that is, even if it's not malevolent, let's just say that, I don't know, somebody wanted to come through and speak to one of you guys and give you a message. What can I do with it in the middle of the night? Can't ring you. I can't ring you. I would have to write notes about what this person said whilst being very sleepy. So there'd be a lack of accuracy in what I was writing, potentially, and it's not a conversation.
Yeah, it's a one way.
It's, you're hearing things that might not be accurate. And I know you guys have seen me work. So when I work, and the way you should be watching somebody work is they want as a response, yes, no, not sure.
Yeah.
So you need the yes, no's, not sure, because then it becomes the conversation where I'm just the receptionist. I'm the middleman. You've got your thoughts and the things you would like to hear, which will be understood by those spirit side. They will give their communication. I have to do the processing of that and give you it as I would understand they're giving it to me. That allows you to say yes, because you understand it completely. No, because you know it's not correct, or not sure because let's go back and get some more information for those last two. I can't do that in sleep state. So if there's ever a medium that you observe who gives everything as like a full paragraph, they're doing themselves a disservice.
Right.
Because out of that full paragraph, you might have 90% accuracy, but there'll be that one section in it that they don't understand. So then it's a no, because they don't understand all of it.
Right.
And as a separate or similar segue to that, I've heard where people have said before that, for lack of a better word, an entity, a spirit has come to somebody, a medium, and it's not necessarily been who they thought it might be, as in it masters somebody else or a malevolent entity. Is that a thing that can happen?
I suppose it can, but my thought process around that would be that that's somebody who isn't practiced at closing down and keeping their boundaries up, and their prayer practice, as it were, of keep me safe, keep me protected. Because once you've maintained that intention for a long enough period of time, all of your worker spirit side know that that's what your intention is. And they're quite a formidable force. So it's more likely to happen to somebody who, through naivety or inexperience, or they've not had the correct training from their teachers, which I've seen a lot of in my time, they don't know about protecting themselves and always wanting to work with the highest, the brightest and the best. You want to keep yourself at a level. If you're wanting to communicate with those of lower energy, like attracts like, you can bring them forward. But it's about setting your ground rules and your boundaries with those that you work with spirit side.
Okay. As a sort of filter.
Yeah, and because the reality is that you rarely actually see spirit standing in front of you.
Right.
And if they do come so that you can see them clearly, for example, and I've talked about this before, about having one person, like being me down, Scotty, appear in my living room, there was no communication. So the reality is you don't see the spirit who was talking to you 9 times out of 10, because it's taken so much energy to come in relatively physical form. that there's no energy left for you to watch their mouth speak to you.
Right.
So a lot of our work is clairsentience. We sense what the spirit world are telling us. Some workers work clairaudiently, so they hear the spirit world, but you don't necessarily see the person whose voice you're hearing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can't see it necessarily in the same way. It's not like sitting with you guys and I know that you're speaking now, Jordan, or you're speaking Ian. Do you get what I mean? It's like you don't know. It's like you guys are all in a separate room.
Right.
That's interesting. And most of the time, how do spirits come to you? In what form normally is that?
It's normally clairsentience.
Okay.
But it's also because you, or if your routine is to close down correctly, then you know you're working. So even on the journey to come here today, was my thoughts went out to upstairs to keep me not only protected while we're here, to also help me out when I might forget things because menopause and all that. Because I've got years and years of stories that are in there somewhere that it's hard to pluck some of them out and remember them.
Yeah.
But it's asking them to kind of like remind me of things and alert me to things and be present. Is you have to establish routines. So your routines are, I'm going to work now, please can you be with me, and then it's and this is what people don't realise if they don't do the practice and they don't do the training. A lot of your training is, what does it feel like when spirit draw close to me? I know what it feels like for me. And even all of the congregations I've ever stood in front of know when my spirit workers are in because my shoulder drops.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just know they're here. You just get that vibe.
Right.
Not necessarily from head to toe, but I just know they're in.
Yeah.
And that's how I would phrase it. They're in my energy field. So they're here. There are times, and if you were to talk to my children, they will tell you about the number of times where that's happened when we've been supermarket shopping and spirit have just come in. But it's about your boundaries and your control. It's either it's an appropriate time to speak or it's not. And I can say, no, sorry, it's just not okay.
Yeah.
Because you're the one living on the earth plane, so you get to choose.
Right.
So you can say no. Lots of people don't do that. They think it's so amazing that they can speak to spirit anytime. And that's not really what life's about.
Yeah.
Does that become then almost like you get taken advantage of a little bit?
Yeah, there is some of that, but also that it can be ego.
For the person
human here.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit of ego. Look at me, I'm amazing because I can do this.
Yeah.
And then they don't realise the burnout that goes with that because you're kind of like always on call. To spirit side for the humans. There's a potential for that. You just can become worn out with it. Worn out with it because of people's need. There are a lot of people who are in need and really do want communication. I'm just thinking of even the event we did last time. Look at the consequence for the communication that I gave.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
I loved that event because all of those people that came would never have set foot in a spiritualist church.
Yeah.
They would never have gone to a spiritual centre. They would never have witnessed communication. They would never have been open to that.
Yeah. I don't know if James got this news to you, but we have a friend who he was a staunch skeptic, and he was like, all mediums are fake. It's just all cold reading, that kind of stuff. And he came to watch you, and he was very interested to watch you. And after the fact, we had a break, and we were stood outside, and he came up to us, and he was like, "That was compelling." He was like, "That's actually, I've come away from that feeling differently." And then from then, that's opened a door, and we've gone to other places, and he's now starting to err on the side. He's coming away from skepticism a bit more.
Wow.
And that was because of exactly what you did at that live show.
Yeah, and that's because of like my practice. When I deliver, it has to be accurate, it has to be understood, and it has to bring comfort. That should be your motivation all the time.
Yeah.
Has to be. And that comfort often is demonstrated by tears.
Right,
when you deliver the accuracy of evidence, is tears fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I mean, too many people on TV you see who do this sort of thing. It's all financial gain, and I think that's going into it for the wrong reasons. And like you say, that your compensation is knowing that you've helped a person, and that's what it should be about.
It should. I mean, I've seen people work that do bring really accurate evidence, but that has to be what you're all looking for.
Yeah.
You have to be looking for real evidence. And how can you know when you're watching something on the TV whether the audience are completely unknowns, which for a lot of them, they will be unknowns.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, and this is an accusation that's thrown, people worry, the social media, you can find me anywhere, you can find all my history, you can find this, that and the other. Well, I can't find on there maybe what your grandma or your great-grandma used to do for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that kind of evidence. It's the stuff that's not actually out there. And people who can deliver that kind of questioning, can you imagine? I can't even remember half my own stuff. To sit there and then fraudulently regurgitate something that I might have read somewhere on the internet just takes so much effort and is so draining.
And what would be the point? What would be the end goal of that? Just walking away knowing that you fooled someone. It doesn't make sense, does it?
And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there are people that have perfected the art of a demonstration.
Yeah.
Do you mean fraudulently?
Well, skill set wise, how do I, I've got your mum here. You can look at something and you've got a pretty good idea whether the mum's around or not.
Right.
There's that element of it. I've got your grandma here. Right, okay. You've got to think about, if you were working for people of my generation, say people who were born in the 60s, you know pretty much what their parents wore or what their grandparents wore and what they watched on TV. So it has to be that there's some minutiae of information that you're delivering that's got an accuracy that isn't just, well, they used to wear a pinny round the middle.
Right, yeah.
It has to be, well, actually, they wore a crossover pinny and it had these flowers on it. That's what you'd remember. And in this pocket, she would always have Mentos.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
It wouldn't apply to everybody.
Yes. Yeah. You've got to get all of that other information out. And so you've got to go looking for it. I mean, I think it's going to be kind of difficult for the mediums of the future. Like, how do you talk about today when the youth of today are the grandparents, or not even the youth of today, because I was about to mention iPods and that's not even current anymore. But do you know what I mean? It will be like, what colour iPod did they have?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
What was their favourite game on VR?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That kind of stuff.
That's interesting, yeah.
So for the future, how you prove the evidence will be quite interesting.
Oh, I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Because the world evolves, doesn't it? And and therefore the evidence, I guess, does.
Yeah.
Potentially.
But there will be people that just have like a delivery style that will fill an event and they're used to that.
Yeah.
And again, observe those who are responding. Because like the event that we did, I made it very clear, didn't I? I want yes, no's, not shows.
Yep.
If you're not getting those as a response, if you're watching a TV demonstration and somebody's having a conversation, they're giving information away. In every response, they're giving information away.
Yeah, and when people want to get a piece of information, if somebody just says something back to you, all you're gonna take is, oh, they said this to me, they were right. Even if the person gives the medium on stage a name and then they give the name back to them, the only part they're going to remember is they gave me the name.
Yeah. On that note, I guess as well, it adds credence because let's say you were fraudulent. You're not.
Well,
let's say you were.
I've worked for you, haven't I?
Yes.
I gave you information the very first time that I met you, just to kind of like prove my skill set.
Yeah.
And you knew I didn't know that information.
Absolutely.
And evidenced it with who it came from, spirit side.
But the thing with that, though, is you would think anybody that was doing this fraudulently would want the conversation.
Yeah, they do.
They would, wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. But you wouldn't want to set the boundary of yes, no, not sure, because that is literally closing off that potential to get more information.
Yeah, I think at one point you actually told them off.
You did.
Started talking to them, you were like, no, stop.
Yeah, that's the bit that's powerful. And I think that's what helps those who are skeptics to realise that actually you might have been blindsided or fooled by other things where it becomes a conversation. You've got to remember, if it becomes a conversation as well, that extends the time of your kind of like your medium. If you're talking about for those who want to make money, is that you feel like you've had an hour's conversation. It feels like a bit of therapy, but you've actually spoken for half that time because it's a conversation.
Yeah.
That's not how I see it. I don't see it as a conversation. It is me delivering from spirit side, so that you have the evidence to go do what you want with, whilst offering that with love and care. I'm not saying that I'm just delivering it and off you go. There is some humanness and some love that goes with that, because people are very touched by that communication, especially if it's the first time. As you witnessed that night, as we all witnessed that night, the emotion that comes with that, oh my God, I thought that when person X passed away, that was the last I was ever going to hear of them or from them.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's a big moment, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And you've got to think that it's not just about let's say, our older family members, what happens to those who lose children, those who lose their babies, you know, those who have stillbirths, you know, there's a significant amount of comfort that you can deliver from that. And I have given evidence that helped somebody to know that the baby that they'd lost was around and growing up spirit side, you know, and babies are brought to us in sleep state as well, for those who don't know. So if you lose a baby, then when you are in sleep state, our children are brought to us. So the spirit that animates us goes off on a wander on a night. It's still tethered to the physical form, but it goes off on a bit of a wander. That's where deja vu comes in. But we meet our children. So we meet our children so that then when it is our turn to go over, we recognise them.
Right.
So then that links very much with I would always point everybody to the film What Dreams May Come. The very old film with Robin Williams.
I love that film, yeah.
You need to watch that, but you won't understand it the first time you watch it.
Okay.
It's a repeat watch so that you get your head around it, because that paints a very, very good description of the spirit world. So our children grow up in the spirit world and are waiting for us, and that when we go over, they're there, and we know them and they know us.
Interesting. So, all right, I've got so many questions. I remember previously we spoke about the idea that I asked you the question if pets could come back and visit you, and I think you said yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I remember you also said, and forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but something along the lines of, before we come to this plane, Earth, in our physical body, we choose what we will become and the life that we'll, I guess, live.
Yeah, a bit like a jobs. It's on the jobs board. You know, you're looking for a new job. There you go.
Yeah. And with that, is it possible that someone could choose to be a pet? Or does it not work that way?
I don't think we go backwards.
Right, okay.
That from the things that I've been told, you're more likely to be a creature, pet, in your earlier stages, potentially, of, let's say, evolution.
I guess the stages of growing, isn't it?
I think that's even if that is possible. I don't see why it wouldn't or couldn't be. But from what I have been told, we don't go backwards to that, because it's about expanding always the test that we face.
Right.
So we are much more tested as a human.
Yeah.
Bit of maybe a controversial question, but so if we choose the life that we're going to lead, is that specifically to learn lessons in that life to evolve later, like in reincarnations? So it just, I mean, the first question I had then when I heard that is like, why would somebody choose to be, to lead the life of like a murderer or something? Okay.
And that is a fabulous question. I love that question, because people can't get their heads around it. Because the universe and this earth plane offers you the chance for every experience, you may be the murderer this lifetime.
Right.
Might have been murdered last time.
Yeah.
You see, people don't see it as a balance.
Is that karma, would that be?
Well, is it karma, or it's just about experience? We come here to experience it. We experience everything. So let's simplify that. We can come here on, let's say, a male or a female lifetime. We could come here as a male or a female that's every sign of the zodiac. Yep. Let's just keep putting things in there. Do you know what I mean? Add that one in this time. Let's add that one in this time. Oh, what can we give her? You choose your country of birth.
Right.
You choose where you're going to live. You choose where you're going to experience things. Yeah. Let's start putting that together as a bit of a mixed bag. But then it depends what else you watch as well. Because if there's more than one of me, and there's more than one of me living in various universes or various levels of energy, ethericness, there might be one of me that's on this earth plane living as I am, as a Capricorn female who was born in the 60s.
Okay.
But there might be another one of me that's maybe a male that's born in the 70s doing something else completely different.
That was going to be my next question, because as we were talking about the world progresses, and, you know, like we were talking about VR, you know, being the source of mediumship in the future, is it possible for you to miss out on experiences because you're coming back to the earth, say you were here in 1970 and then all of a sudden you're here in 2010, so you missed out a chunk of potentials? Or is it you could literally, time is not linear? That's
the point. Time's not linear.
Right.
Okay.
So we're the only ones that live linear. This is how long a day is. This is how long a minute is. This is how long what our lives are. When you talk to the spirit world, our lives are click the blink of an eye, gone, and you're back.
Right.
It just feels a very long time for us on the earth plane. We're the only ones that measure it like that. But you've got to experience all kinds of things, and all kinds of good things and bad things. We tested every day, aren't we? We're tested about how we respond to people, how we are, how loving, how kind. You know, can you be loving and kind when somebody has let's say, just, slapped you around the face, what's your response? No, but it is all of those things. It's how you are, what you do, what you give, how you love, how you care. But, we're tested while we're doing that.
Yeah. Sorry, it's got a bit of a difficult question that I'm even trying to wrap my own head around.
I think it might be the same one I've got.
Okay, so could you explain if your spirit is able to be reincarnated and come back to this earth?
Yeah.
When your loved ones die, how do they perceive you in the afterlife, on the other plane? If your consciousness, your energy is back here, say during World War One. So how does the consciousness be in two places? So obviously you say like when you die, you meet your loved ones on the other side and they're still there. But then if that spirit has been reincarnated on Earth, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the only bit I'm struggling with is the jump back to going back to the First World War. Oh,
just because you said you can choose to experience different things. So if I said right, this time I'm going to go back and be a soldier, I'm going to experience that life. So if I died and I said,
I think I will own that I don't know whether we can go backwards in time necessarily and experience something. Okay, I suppose that's my first thought in my own head is, can we go back and experience things at a previous time? My answer to that would be, I'm not sure whether we can go back to a different time experience, but the best way that I can answer it and I'm trying to be clear with this, when we're spirit side, we have a soul group, and again, that's kind of covered in the what dreams may come. You belong to a soul group. You belong to whatever. There are some of those people within that soul group that offer to act in different roles in your life on Earth at whichever time. And you will have held those roles at different time. What I can't explain is that the past, present and future are all happening at the same time. That's not my skill set.
Yeah, right.
We as humans cannot compute that, but we know it does happen. I used to love watching Horizon. So there are some programmes that Horizon delivered that were absolutely spiritual in nature, but they weren't delivered as such.
Yeah.
And there was one of them that talked about past, present and future and how it happens. And it was all of the top maths and science professors from England, well, from the UK and USA. And they were all talking about things. And it was very much the wow of projecting that pinprick of light, but when it's separated, it goes through two things. It's being
double slit
observed.
Experiment.
Yes. So all of that was explained really, really clearly. And I just remember the guy at the end just throwing either the tennis or the cricket ball and saying, there's a me in this life that's doing this. There's a me in another life that's not married, that's not whatever.
Yeah.
And these are highly educated professors who are talking about this stuff. And I'm sat there watching it, screaming at the TV, kind of going, but that's what we talk about in spiritual life, spirituality-wise. So it's out there, but I don't know enough to understand how we can be all of those places. I just don't know that we can go backwards in time.
Yeah, that might have been my bad phrase, and I was just using that as an example. But the main point I was trying to get at is how can we be in spirit side and reincarnated? So how can our spirit be on Earth in a new life and on spirit side? Because
I think there's aspects of us.
So different
I think there's an aspect
groups.
of us. I wouldn't say split in that sense, because it's just something that was told a long time ago about a particular group that I belong to, and I think that helps me understand it. So I was told a long time ago that I belong to something called the Diamond Group. And if you understand the facets of a diamond, I think those are the facets of our lives potentially. That one facet of me could be here,
right,
and another facet of me could be there.
Okay.
Just that, that's the best description. Like I said, they simplify a lot of stuff for me because I'm not very smart. But,
Nonsense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think within that, I would also sort of say to you, and because of the way my logical head works as well, I've also challenged the spirit world in terms of my understanding. So why do we get people that are, let's say, the worst people in the world?
Yeah.
How do they choose that job then?
Yeah.
And my understanding through my communications with the spirit world are that would have to be somebody who's incredibly high level.
Yeah. I mean, I guess on the other side, you might, once you have the knowledge and information, and, obviously we don't remember it, but when you're there, you'll be like, oh, it's obviously all clear now. So it might be seeing the Earth and the lives that we lead as a game. Like when people play a game on their Xbox, you don't think twice about shooting civilians. If you're playing Call of Duty or whatever, people don't, they kill people, and sometimes they'll just go off on random tangents and do things. So I guess, is that like this? They might be like, oh, this time I'll just be that.
But is that the opportunity for you to not be it, to come as it, but to figure it out that that's not the way?
Oh, I see. So you don't have to fulfill that.
Yeah.
Well, but you could fulfill it to a point,
Right.
and then you could learn better.
Yeah, or maybe just gaining the experience to come away from it, to know not to do that again, or to help humanity's
Yes.
future.
Because this is going back to your previous question, though, your earlier question, isn't it? Is that we come here to experience it all.
Yeah.
So, one life you murdered, next time you murder.
I guess-
Why not? Why not? Do you know what I mean? And it's the judgment we pour on that.
Yeah.
We all pour a judgment on it, don't we? We all put a label on it.
I guess not to obviously diminish the fact, the actions of people that do horrible things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But as a humanity, we learn from those and we grow as a culture.
Yeah.
As
And
an
the,
earth.
the reason that I see it that way and feel that that's how Spirit World have taught me it is because Spirit World is a place where only love exists. Mm-hmm. If only love existed here, we'd be spirit. We'd all be spirit side.
Right.
There wouldn't be the tests and the angles and the arguments and the disputes, and they just wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because we would all just love each other, wouldn't we?
That sounds great.
But we love each other here with boundaries and parameters, don't we?
Yeah,
What do we
right.
say to our kid? If you behave yourself, you'll get some sweets. There is always like a reward potentially. I can't think what word I'm actually looking for. But do you see what I'm saying? Is usually love has got some
Conditions.
yes, that's kind of near enough. But it does, doesn't it? It does. Look at marriages, relationships.
Yeah. A thought with that, right? So if we all choose our job, as it were, and then we come down here into our meat sack and we fulfill that, whatever that would be. If our purpose is to experience everything, does that mean that eventually there shouldn't be horrible things? Because all the spirits would have fulfilled that, and therefore there shouldn't necessarily be a need to be horrible.
I guess that's the evolution of people, and that's going to take billions of years probably. If everybody,
Yeah.
every soul has one aspect, like you were saying, you could choose to be a Capricorn in China who is murdered. There's so many options for one person alone.
Yeah.
For everyone to go through everything.
Parallel universe, not
Yeah.
parallel, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
equivalent of that many
Different options, yeah. The amount of time it would take for everyone to
suppose.
live through everything.
Yeah.
But I suppose the other part of that, though, is we're here to learn to be as unconditionally loving as we possibly can. So if you master that in any of those lifetimes, you might have done.
Right.
Your job
Ain't
might have
coming
done.
back.
That might be, right, okay, I'm done. But it might also be that you come back down to actually offer those that are still here, that are still struggling, a lesson. You might not have that many lessons. You might kind of appear to sail through life. Lots of us know those people that land up in it and come out smelling of roses.
Yeah.
But they might be the ones that are here that are either in an earlier incarnation, so they are not overly tested, but they might also be the ones that return to the earth plane, which is, if you read lots of stuff about ascended masters, for example, they come down for a purpose. They achieve that purpose and then they can return. The whole aim of what we're doing, and this is not so easy to describe necessarily when you can't see what I'm trying to say, is that we're trying to climb this sort of scale or these ladders to learn to be as unconditionally loving as the source, whatever word you have for the source. For me, it's the Great Spirit, the ultimate, absolutely unconditional love that you can possibly have, that you emanate for every human, every animal, every living thing upon the earth plane and throughout the universe. That's what we're aiming to be.
Right.
But we're not that.
Yeah.
We have a middle lane driver, whatever your angst is, you are not unconditionally loving. You have that condition placed at that point, which means you're not up there.
Right.
So we keep coming back until we've perfected that.
Makes sense. I've got a question for you that I've only just thought of, but this is one that I know a lot of people point to as their definite. Obviously, it's not real because of this. So I was just hoping you might be able to give us some insight on it. So 200 years ago, the population of Earth was about 1 billion people, and nowadays it's 8 billion people. So on the other side, is there a massive array of energies, consciousnesses ready to come through? Or because people might think, well, why isn't there a steady number of people on Earth? If there's one soul for one incarnation, why is there more now than there was then. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then I think we've almost covered that by saying that there's one of me here doing this and there might be one of me over there. There might be multiple me's.
Right. So
there's that option.
So you're all living in the same time,
Well,
experiencing different things.
I'm sure that there are some that are back spirit side, having a rest and having a bit of an overview.
Yeah.
You know, I know that when I work spiritually, I know that it's like running a theatre. Not that I've ever run one, but when I do a demonstration, for example, or I'm working... If I'm doing a demonstration, there's quite a few behind you. There'll be the one with the clipboard saying, Mrs. Smith, it's you next. You know, shouting to the next person that they want to come forward, because when we deliver to the person who needs it most. Mm-hmm. We don't know what that is. They know what that is.
Right.
Spirit team know what that is. I don't know. I'm not in control in any way, shape or form as to who comes next or who pushes in. I can know if somebody's pushed in because they interrupt and interfere with the communication to the person I'm giving it to and drag me off to give it to someone else. Mm-hmm. So I think there are probably infinite numbers of souls that can inhabit.
Okay.
You know, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe there's less of us down here and a whole heap and millions upon millions that are waiting or available to come into the human form. Just because we only had this many at this point in time doesn't mean that was the number. Yeah. We're not looking that actually there might be just billions and billions of spirit side waiting to come to the earth plane or available to. And actually sat up there thinking, no chance. Yeah. I am not going down there.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I think a lot of people might see it as it's like main character syndrome, like Earth, we're the humans, we're the ones that were here first, and Spirit came to us. But I think, you know, obviously Spirit would have been there before, and then Earth was created, and then the system started.
Potentially.
You mentioned something about being interrupted, and a separate question on that particular word would be, have you ever been interrupted by Spirit? And if so, what was one of the weirdest things that came to you through that, if you have any?
God, you're asking me stuff now. There's so much stuff that's weird. Because we all live in our own little tiny, quite condensed worlds, you can often get some really quite random things. If you mean in terms of communication with and for other people, I've had some very explicit things that you just really wouldn't pluck out of thin air and have somebody accept.
Right.
You know, I worked for somebody who was, again, we talk, men especially need evidence, okay? Whereas the way this communication works, it's much more on an emotional level than a logical level. But it has logic, if you look at it correctly, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know, you get yourself ready, you maintain, you know, your cleanliness, your communication, your meditation, your skill set. It's just like any other job, let's say. So when you are ready to work, you open up ready for that work. So there is a lot of logical steps to the work. But then you've got to just feel it. And that's where, you know, if you want to do this work, you have to have the capacity to feel that communication, to feel that energy come in. Anyway, I was working for a young lad that I used to work with a long time ago. And although he'd grown up in the UK, ancestrally, his ancestors had not. So his ancestors couldn't speak English. So he was a bit thrown by the fact that I could receive communication from his non-English speaking grandparents.
Right. Yeah, which would have been evidence enough in itself.
Well, no, because that actually makes them question more of like, there's more doubt actually from people receiving it, because they don't understand that their non-English speaking grandparents, their message will come through my workers so that I can hear it in my language. Yeah. Because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? I'm not going to give you any communication if I can't hear anything from spirit side or if I can't sense anything. But the thing that then blew his mind was, that added to his confusion, was that the grandmother talked about having 6 fingers.
Right.
Yeah.
That's wow. That's a bit like, kind of like, even I'm like double checking. Am I really giving this information?
Right. Okay.
And his face went, because it was kind of like, oh my God, how could you know that?
Yeah.
It's big stuff. It's the little stuff that's actually, why would you, out of the millions of different things you could give as evidence, would you give that one very random, that could quite easily be an absolute no?
Yeah.
And you have to trust your spirit workers. We're giving you this tiny piece of evidence that's the most accurate piece of evidence that you're going to give.
I suppose for yourself, it's a bit like, don't shoot the messenger. I can only tell you what what I know.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean I don't go back. I've worked, again, let's even stay on that theme. I've done some work out for 2 different periods of time working out in Spain, and worked for a Spanish lady. She didn't speak English, I didn't speak Spanish. I needed a human interpreter on the earth plane to work for this lady.
Yeah.
And the ones that were communicating with me from the other side, obviously, were only Spanish speakers.
Yeah.
But my guides gave me the message so that I could understand it in English, that I passed on to my friend who was an English speaker, who translated it into Spanish for the other person, who was really comforted by the evidence.
Right.
The spirit world will make it work. They will make it work if that message needs to be given.
Delivered. Yeah.
Great.
You know, and yeah, they're amazing. You just have to put yourself in the right zone.
So, Pamela, I realise time's a little bit of the essence for us right now. So we have a few more questions, if we're okay with a bit of quick fire round within
Depends
reason.
how fast my brain works. Yeah, we can try.
Okay. Now, you don't have to go into this if you don't want to, but has being a medium and becoming a medium ever impacted your life or your relationships in a sort of negative way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose, yes. You're different. There's a weirdness. It's like, I think differently. I'm different. I know I'm different. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way of like being superior or anything like that. It's because actually it can be more testing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
It
in
can be
every
more
aspect.
testing. Yeah, because it's kind of like, all right, okay, let's throw this at you. Let's see how you get over this one then. Do you know what I mean? The tests come that way as well. And if you are in relationships with, whether it's partners, friendships, whatever they are, is you have a different view or a different understanding that's different to them. You feel different.
Yeah.
I mean, even from a human aspect,
Yeah.
if you tell someone this truth, the way people are generally brought up is to think this is all nonsense, and they're going to think they're going to think ill of you in some way or another, and it can, I guess, destroy relationships because they're just like, oh, I want to distance myself from that, even though it's not a dangerous thing.
Yeah, and there's the demand element of it as well, that if you are consistent in your communication and consistently delivering good evidence, you have a queue of people that need that confirmation as well.
Yeah.
So you're needed by lots of people too. So it's really important that you have your boundaries, and that's why for me, like closing down on a night, I have to have my rules, because if I don't sleep properly, I don't function during the day. How do you parent? How do you live a life? And how do you manage friendships? And it might also be that the role that you've been tasked with here requires that you have more space and peace and quiet, which might not provide you with successful partnership.
Yeah.
Because actually, you've got a mission. Excuse me, most of us have got a mission.
Yeah. Are there any people that you maybe have or would refuse to read for?
I think it's actually more about the education type of it, which is why we talk as we talk together. Some people will come in and they just want one person.
Yeah.
They want this one person. That's the only person they're interested in communication from. And they might even also have that thing of, because we agreed a code word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
well, that's fine.
Houdini did.
But what if that code word is something I would never get?
Yeah. And you mean as evidence that they've come through?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. What happens if they've got a code word that, let's say, it means something in the IT world? Mm-hmm. Let's use that one, because I know so little about IT. Yep. I am old enough to remember when the school that I was at had 2 computers and you were only allowed to touch them if you were studying IT. The rest of us were not allowed anywhere near them. That's my age group category. So let's just say they agreed an IT term, or they, like you talked about earlier, something from GTA or any other game.
Yeah.
If it's not in my head, because the spirit world only have the library of my brain to work with. So then I'm not going to deliver, potentially, evidence to that person.
Right.
And that person is then going to think I'm a failure because I can't receive that piece of evidence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I didn't know
so
that.
You have to sort of explain to somebody that, let's just say that the lady you witnessed me working for at the event that we did in October.
By the way, if you want to listen to that, it's bonus episode 28, I believe. Just put that out there, sorry.
But that lady really, really, really wanted her mum.
Yeah.
But if her mum didn't have sufficient energy because she'd only recently passed, I'm going to get somebody else who's stronger first.
Yeah.
And they come in first and they deliver the message. We get on a bit of a roll, and it will then deliver and build enough energy for the person that you want to come through.
Oh, I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if they're not willing to hear from anybody else, What are you, how do I as the medium work past that?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You're not going to listen to dad or granddad who's been in spirit side for 20 years, who's got the energy, who can work with my workers to deliver this message to get a flow going, so that then your other person can come in on the back of that.
Yeah.
So it's knowing the mechanics of how it can work. So can you imagine if I said, well, are you okay to just trust that and let anybody come through first, and then hopefully we'll get that one? What if they say no? Yeah. They're going to walk out and I'm going to be, a 1-star rating?
Yeah.
Because I can't do what they want.
That also answers your later question. I think you were going to ask, if you crashed on the way home, how quickly would you expect to hear from Jordan coming through? Yeah. And I guess that answers that.
No, it can't. And it literally can be that same day.
Right. Oh, really?
It can be that same day. Depends on urgency and need and all of those communications. Right. If you really want to get through, you will get through.
Sort of like pushing the queue.
Absolutely.
Oh, right.
Patrick Swayze on Ghost. If there's enough reason, I have to get back, I have to tell so-and-so, I have to.
Yeah.
They can come back on the day they pass.
If they push through hard enough and they desperately want to get a message to a loved one, is it possible for them to, for lack of a better word, possess you and speak through you, or is that something you've never experienced?
Not experienced it in the way that you're describing it.
Right.
There would still be some level of control. My workers would be kind of like, no, you're not butting in.
Right.
But sitting in private circle, then you can have those that come through trance.
Yeah.
So you are in that very relaxed state. So that really, really relaxed state, that like not exactly half awake, half asleep, but quite happy to kind of move out of the way, and then spirit can come in. So you might want to have a look up about transfiguration. So that's when you can see spirit form over somebody else's face.
Right.
There's trance work where, and it's still done today, where you sat in a darkened cabinet. There's all of that stuff. There's a real thing you can pursue there in terms of your understanding, sitting in a chair, being tied to the chair, clothes being removed or put back on, or ties
like
being
spirit
removed.
Cabinets and things like that as well.
It. Yeah. So you can be in the cabinet, but there's such a lot about that. There's so much less physical mediumship happens now than used to happen. Very much happened around wartime. Arthur Conan Doyle, who came in to discredit it and then was overwhelmed by the evidence of what he saw in front of his eyes. But again, it's about growth, isn't it? Because through that period, or prior to that period, mediums were under the Vagrancy Act. We went from Vagrancy Act to the Witchcraft Act, moved from the Witchcraft Act to fraudulent mediums.
Right.
So, but you wouldn't understand necessarily, because you're not in this world, that the Fraudulent Mediums Act is about using a tool. So if you were stood on a rostrum delivering a service, you couldn't hold a crystal or a flower because that was a tool.
Oh, right.
That could have you in trouble as a fraudulent medium. And yet now we come under consumer goods law. You're buying a service.
Oh, really?
Yep. And that in itself is very risky, because you're buying a service, but you could walk into place A and you want that very specific service. You do want only mum to come through and deliver you that code word.
Yeah.
Right.
On that basis, I'm at risk of being sued because I've failed to deliver.
Oh, right. Oh, God.
Wow.
So the risk element is quite significant.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that in a million years.
Have you ever worried that anybody that's wanting to speak to a deceased relative might become too dependent on a medium or even
Absolutely.
yourself? Okay.
Absolutely. And so it's for me, somebody comes for a reading, I want to know when they've had the last one.
Right.
Because I want to know whether they're going every week to see whoever every week. They might be literally going to anyone and everyone that they can. So I want to know when the most recent reading has happened. Do they know how it works? Because they might never have had one. And that I will only see people 6 monthly.
Oh, really?
Because what can happen is somebody can become dependent on maintaining that advice from the person that they've loved and lost.
Yeah.
So they still want mum to tell them how to cook something or how to do something or how to be or whatever. And that's not their job. The one spirit side has lived their life. It's for the one left here to carry on living their life, their way, their choice, their choosing. So the way that I would encourage somebody to be is you go about living your life, and then when you come for your next communication from anyone, your loved one in the spirit world will say what they've seen you doing.
Right.
Oh, I see.
That's further evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, would you understand why they told me that you've been somewhere where there's been, I don't know, you've been to see the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or they've been on a Norwegian fjord cruise and that's what they've seen. It can be good for delivering evidence that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
That's good to know, because that would totally be me. If my wife passed before me, I'd be like, right, I need to speak to her because I need to know what the temperature for meat is.
Yeah,
I need to know what the cook temperature
absolutely. Absolutely. And you can't, and it's no good. You have to get on and live because this is still your testing ground.
Yeah.
You've been left here because you still have things that you need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've gone back because they've achieved theirs.
Yeah.
And people kind of might not understand that. So, whether it's the child that lives a day or whether we're 101,
Yeah.
we're here for as long as we need to be here for.
Right.
Okay. A controversial question, if I
Go on
can.
then.
If there is, and there will be fraudulent psychics and mediums out there doing it for money, and that will happen, what's your feeling on if you know someone isn't maybe being genuine, but it has helped the person getting the reading to feel relief in some way? What's your feelings on that?
I suppose it depends around the conversation, because you can be helped by what's essentially a kind of counselling.
Yeah.
And that counselling, and I'm using that in inverted commas really, because it's the person that's working for you has probably worked for lots of people. They probably have that compassion and that ability to want to deliver something, even if it's not 100% accurate or whatever else, because we're all still learning. It doesn't matter how much I've learned, I've still got more to learn. I still don't know enough. I still don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. It's whether you've delivered that honesty, whether it's when somebody has come into you, you've said, listen, I've only been doing this a year, I've only been doing this 3 years, or I'm at this point on my journey. It's have you delivered that honesty at the same time so that the person knows what they're entering into? Right. Or are you selling yourself as being, I have been doing this all of my life? Well, you might have been, but that doesn't mean anyone's trained you in personal responsibility and where your boundaries should be. And, there are rules, for example, in when you're working in let's say in a spiritualist church, there are rules about we're not allowed to diagnose.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
All right. Yeah, but that diagnosis you can be brought in front of you, let's say, oh, they're giving me a bowl of oranges. So you would do that. Oh, I wonder if that's vitamin C. Do you think you need some vitamin C?
Right. You
Right?
can't say
You can't say that.
Yeah.
But people do.
Right.
So it's knowing that rule, as it were, that you can't say that because that is a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because the big thing that we all must remember is that someone who's coming to sit in front of you that wants communication, that believes you can give them that communication, you're already on that pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the person who's sitting in front of you hears, oh, do you need some more vitamin C? And instead of sensibly kind of going, knowing that they don't, might believe that that's what they're being told.
Right.
What happens if they overdose on vitamin C? And it could be in anything. It could be oh, they're giving me milk. Well, what happens if that person's lactose intolerant, for example?
Right.
And yet they go, oh, well, I've been told I've got to have milk.
It could also mean that you've had too much.
It could. Absolutely. But that's why that kind of rule is in place.
That's
we
interesting.
don't diagnose.
That's a sensible thing, I think, and just another string to add to your bow of the fact that you're doing this.
It's responsibility.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
such a responsibility that goes with this work. And it's, from the conversations that we've had, I get so distressed about people who really upend other people's lives through not delivering it with those rules and responsibilities and not understanding why they're in place, what they're about, and the consequences.
Okay.
Because the consequences can be significant.
Last few questions, if that's
go
all
on.
right.
Yeah, of course.
It's a little bit awkward because you wanted to originally meet up with us before we went to visit 30 East Drive, and we didn't really have the time to make that happen. What is some of the advice that you might have given us, or that maybe someone listening to this might be going to do their own investigation that they could take on board to maybe protect themselves? Or
You see, I haven't even spoken to you since you've come back, so I
No.
don't know what happened.
No.
And I've not heard anything. I've not even heard anything. I've not talked to you guys or James about it, so I don't know what happened. But you've also got to think, from my perspective, is look how many of you have been in that house. how many energies are stuck in that house.
Yeah.
We don't know whether it's ever been cleansed.
Yeah.
We don't know who's gone in and done whatever. If you go in and you keep yourself as protected as you would need to keep yourself protected, then does that, by its own definition, prevent whoever does live in there, spirit side, communicating with you and causing that havoc?
Yeah.
Or do you have to be so wide open that you have no protection in place, and then you actually run out of there all scared to death, all with some kind of, real issue of an outcome where you're all scared to death and it's manifested something within you that's impossible to shake off.
Yeah.
I mean, we all sort of went in there with the mindset of we do not consent for anything negative to happen or follow us, and that kind of internal belief.
Yeah, it's the intention like you were talking about earlier. You know.
It is about intention, but let's flip it on its head. If you were the monk of 30 East Drive, how brassed off would you be at having to entertain all these idiots that keep turning up for you to do a performance?
Yeah.
It's true.
Sorry, I'm not suggesting you're idiots. No, but I just mean that all of these people are paying all of this money to sit in this place. Yeah. Can you imagine if you were said monk? What would you do? You'd be like, no, I don't fancy like spooking that lot.
Yeah.
And there might be another team that go in there, the monks kind of going, bring it on.
Yeah.
Because they have a choice too. Unless he's a ghost and it's just an image caught in time, which you're all going to see the same thing. But if he's got a choice of who he haunts and who he distresses, his choice.
Yeah. I'm surprised he's not told you. James had a scratch down his back, like the full length of his back.
Right, okay.
And
I think I've seen that.
You possibly have, and it was a little bit like, okay, you can't do that to me. It was literally like that. And Ian was sat on a bed on his own, and I was in the doorway. There was no one else in the room, and the corner of the bed moved while he was sat on it.
Yeah, the bed was
and the
pulled.
mattress remained in the same place, but the actual
bed frame
had moved.
Okay.
It was just very odd.
But I suppose I'd reflect back at you. So what do you get out of that? What did going into these spaces and doing all of this, what do you do with that? What's it teaching you? How do you respond to the one that's effectively performing for you?
Yeah, I take it as like you say, what you want to give. I just take it as evidence, and I just take it on board that it's something exists on the other side. Of all the things that I research.
Yeah, sure.
It's interesting to see it put in practice.
But would it ever get you to develop your mediumistic skills so that you can actually have communication?
No, not for me personally.
But do you close down?
My intent and my intention and the message that I exude is I do not want to talk to anything, because there's no way that I can discern what is talking to me. So, and all the stories I've heard, like say people who don't close down and just invite it all in because they think, I can speak to ghosts and whatever. Yeah. And that and other entities, aliens, even things that present as angels, their story always ends bad. And I think that's from a lack of information and knowledge going into it. So I am interested in it, but I keep myself closed.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the same. And I think we all, at least Ian and I and our friend Paul, went in there thinking, or kind of believing that probably nothing's going to happen. And we went in with that mindset of we're open to it, but I imagine nothing will. And weird things did.
Some weird things did happen, yeah.
Odd.
Yeah, and that's for me a better balance, going in with a degree of cynicism and having some proof that you will then be honest about. Yeah. So, yes, I was cynical, but I can't explain this, and this. That's evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go in there, telling the whole world that I expect all sorts of things to happen because it always happens everywhere I go, then I'm listening to you thinking, well, I'm sceptical at that.
Yeah.
And then if nothing happens, then that becomes your evidence and you shut off from it. I think, going in with an open mind is the best way.
I know we never got onto the alien thing, did we? But
we didn't. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I absolutely believe that there is everything throughout the universe.
Okay.
I absolutely believe that. And I believe it because I've had my own experience of it. But my own experience of it has come through private circle. So running a private circle at home with a group of people who sit regularly. So it is absolutely about the same group of people sitting on a regular basis, same time, same place, week in, week out, and just putting yourself in that position to receive, that whoever wants to come through is welcome, because you have that spiritual protection from those who work with you. So the circle itself is protected.
Right.
So only those that would be allowed through are those who are, let's say, coming with honour. Let's do it that way, because that's what you've set up. That's your intention. You know, the door isn't opened to anybody that has a lesser intention. And so, yes, our experience in our circle over the years has been 3 different types
of extraterrestrial.
Wow.
Come out of curiosity, potentially, as much to kind of like check us out as whatever, because it's a bit, you sit there kind of like going, wow. It's a bit, it just stops you short. It's kind of like, do you know what I mean?
Do you know what type of entities these were?
Tall white.
Yeah.
The little green one.
All right.
And grey.
You've seen greys.
Yeah.
They terrify me.
There's Ian's kryptonite.
Yeah.
And the greys. But they're as curious about us.
Yeah.
I think we mustn't lose that, is that we're all sat here talking about spirit side like it's something really alien to us. Mm-hmm. Well, we're alien to them.
Yeah.
You know, and they just kind of want to check us out too. There is everything. This universe contains everything. The good, the bad and the ugly.
With a bit of
Sat
ugly
in
in
this
here,
room,
but it is there. But it depends, where do you put yourself to receive that?
Yeah.
You know, we're all in Scarborough at this moment in time. If we're wandering around Scarborough, what are our chances of like bumping into one? We would assume that there's none here, but we're here.
Yeah.
And we're doing this work. So our vibrational frequency is around us.
Yeah.
You know, what we're sending out into the universe is around us. So if they want to come in, they're going to come in. If they want to help us while we're doing this work down here, they're coming to Scarborough. Do you see what I'm saying? That we have lots of rules around what can or can't be possible, and we don't view it from a universal point of view.
Yeah.
Spirit side have to operate within universal law. That's some research that might be worth doing for you guys. So that it has to operate within universal law. So if they need to come, if they want to come, they're going to do it. And if you put yourself in a situation like we did, they were more than welcome. We were not afraid. Yep. We were not afraid because we knew our team was there for protection. But, you know, if you were sat there and you were inviting all kinds of anything, same rules as we talked about earlier, you know, whether it's you're just wide open to any of the Patrick Swayzes of the spirit world from that sort of situation, you can get all kinds of anything.
Interesting.
One final question, and I know you've got to scoot. What would you say is the biggest misconception that people have about mediumship?
Oh, I think it's so much of what we've covered this morning.
Okay.
Is they don't know the truth of it. They don't necessarily see it when it's done well. They don't actually go sit in a church and observe for a long enough period of time and watch this medium, that medium, this medium, and all work. They're all of different levels. Everyone's at a different level of skill set. But it's also having your own observation. What am I seeing? Am I seeing a conversation? Is that really mediumship then? That's where I would have my doubts. Is that really mediumship? And it can be, but that will only happen with those who are very, very good at what they do.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, because the conversation we're having now is on beta frequency. If I want to talk to the spirit world, I'm moving into alpha. So I'm moving into a different frequency level to speak to the spirit world.
Is that vibrational body aura, or is that your mind brain wave?
I think it's earthly waves.
Right.
So we're all chatting in beta. To communicate with spirit, we're in alpha because it's an active communication. Mm-hmm. If you're giving healing, you're moving into theta.
Yep.
So you've heard of theta brainwaves. So it's just about the waves.
Right.
But if you're in alpha and then you're having a conversation with the person you're working with, you're out of alpha and back to beta to talk to this person.
Hence the yes, no, not sure.
Exactly, because that's not a conversation. I don't have to come into beta to hold the yes, no, not sure's. I can hear them and I go back because I'm holding that link. I'm holding my spiritual link.
Got it.
That's the most important one.
Okay.
But if you're watching somebody who's holding a conversation and they're a learner medium or early stages of development, however long that lasts for, and they're holding that conversation, it's really difficult to go back into the same alpha frequency and go back to that same person you were just talking to.
Like a light switch.
Yeah. It's just really difficult to do it. And that's when it becomes messy.
Okay.
So the wowness for me is stick to the yes, no's, not shows. Don't feed your medium. But you also have to be kind of a little bit open to a little bit of interpretation, bearing in mind that the spirit world can only use that medium's brain
Yeah.
and
That's
what's
so
in
interesting.
it. Because that's my repository of information. So in my early days, well, and even to this day, I'm not particularly well-travelled around the earth. So I might know what Sydney Opera House looks like and what pyramids look like. Do you know what I mean? I might be able to identify landmarks that I'm very aware of from the earth plane. But if somebody wants to talk to me about where they've travelled, that's quite difficult. They'd have to like take me maybe on a map and show me sort of down there, but across to the left.
Yeah.
But it might not be something that's known to me.
So they could give you a street name, but they couldn't tell you what was at the end of the street.
But that's only if I knew the street name.
Right.
What if the word for the street is a word I don't know or I haven't understood?
Right.
So for people that are coming for sit-ins, you kind of need to know your educational level of the person that you're working with, about how broad their knowledge is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that kindly, because when we're here on the earth plane, one of the ways that I teach this is we're born, especially with it being World Cup time, if you imagine that each of our lives are our own individual football stadium, then you are born at one goal, right? So you pop out of that little goal as this little human, and your soul is a shiny silver kickmaster football, right? Tied around your middle, okay? Because that's where your etheric cord is. And your little soul is your little shiny silver football. So that's tucked under your arm. So in your little 6-yard box, you're probably only going to meet family and friends and, friends of the family, and you might start school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get to 18 and you're on 18-yard line, but you're Jane Doe. And Jane Doe has decided that she is really, really, really wanting to marry Joe Bloggs.
Right.
All right, so she's this shiny silver kickmaster's had a bit of odd scrape here and there, but while you're growing up and you've got to 18, and she goes to a medium because she wants her grandma to tell her whether or not she should marry Joe Bloggs.
Right.
And grandma sat in row C because she's been gone 3 years, so she sat in row C. So just imagine the stadium is filled around with spirit. So you go to one medium who can communicate, she can achieve going up the levels to spirit side to grandma who's in row C, who's like, absolutely not, you can't marry him. No, don't go near him. He's going to just jump all over your kickmaster football. He's going to stamp it, stab it, kick it away, crunch it, whatever. She says no. What happens if Jane Doe goes and speaks to a medium who can speak to her guide who's in row Z?
Right. To get the higher knowledge.
Exactly, because he has a view of her entire football field.
Oh, I
he knows what she's got to experience before her silver kickmaster football goes through the goal at the other end.
Yep.
And her body is left on the pitch to go into the earth, right? We don't know all these people that we're going to bump into and all that we're going to have experiences with, and then who knows who's coming out of which tunnel, people that we might have met 20 years ago. Jane Doe cannot see the end goal. She does not know how long it's going to take her. She's on a level playing field, so she can't see over the heads, but her guide can.
Yeah.
So Jane Doe goes to speak to a medium who does communicate with said guide, who says, absolutely, of course she should marry Joe Bloggs.
Because that will help them get to...
Because that way, she'll have learnt a lesson at 18 and not 28, 38, 48 or 58.
Right.
Learnt it. Different views based on a different medium.
Yeah.
I've been taught a few of these that they give me some visualizations in the way that I can understand. What's really interesting for me as well, just to add to this as my little finale bit, is I have taught this stuff throughout my teaching times. I've taught spiritual communication for a long time. What's really interesting for me are the people that also repeat what I've taught them and don't give me credit.
Yeah.
There is so much of that out there that don't talk about the teachers that taught them this. I have a knicker hanger theory, which loads of people that know me from my teachings understand. So I'll just get this one out there as well. So do you all know what a knicker hanger is? Where you put your knickers and your socks on when they're wet?
Yeah,
and it has a top
Like
peg.
yeah.
It has a top peg, doesn't it? And then it has we'll use 12 pegs.
Yeah.
We'll go on disciple basis. Top peg is the source. All of these are as unconditionally loving as you can possibly be. The next pegs are as unconditionally loving as you can be to source. But each of those pegs is the top peg of their own knicker hanger.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like another branch.
So it waters down.
So think crinoline, massive crinoline. So we, in this room, could all be on level 4 in terms of our knowledge and development, but it might be level 4 up, all right?
Okay.
But if you can imagine on that crinoline that's 12 times 12 times 12 times 12 times 12, we will all know different things.
Yeah.
The only time we are all really in the same place is when we're as high up that set of Nick-hangers as we can possibly be to be unconditionally loving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we all might know stuff, but we're not there yet. So that's another of the things that they've given me, and like the radio frequencies. So yeah, I've seen other people deliver things on YouTube and get the acclaim for my teachings.
Oh, right, okay.
So, you know, there is that.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to share the stuff that I've learnt over my lifetime. Spirit world want us to know that we're loved and that we're safe. They're always around us, absolutely always around us. They love us, and they're going to love us when we get back over on the other side as well.
Yeah.
We have a mission and we have a purpose, and I just know that life is eternal. I know that we face tests upon the earth plane, and that's all they are. They're just tests, you know. Another one. And another one. And another one.
To build us into a more knowledgeable being.
To be as loving as we can be.
Right, yeah.
How am I going to deal with that one then? Right, okay. And it's such an honour to do this work as well. You can bring such comfort. As we know from that night in October, those people were so comforted by that communication that they did not know that they were going to get.
Yeah.
The feedback that I got after it, quite some time after it, was that I was observed by somebody else local in Scarborough who made sure that I didn't actually speak to anybody.
Oh, I see.
So I was witness. So I deliberately stood out of the way and stood with the people that I knew, or went out of the way. Didn't want to talk to anyone. Didn't want that accusation ever to be levelled at me. I'm super careful about all of that. And so even that was evidenced, and that's been talked about as well.
Interesting.
And that's got me... So on that basis, could you please work for my mum? Because I know that what you delivered was real evidence.
Yeah.
You know, and the feedback that I've had from you guys and others afterwards of like, wow. As in, no, it's really blown people's minds, because people don't actually go check it out for themselves.
People just take it on and go, oh, that's interesting, and move on.
And just as long as people know that we're just not all the same, we're not all in the same space of learning, we don't all have the same knowledge, we haven't all maybe read all the same stuff, done all the research, communicated with spirit, done a ton of meditation, done lots of communication.
Yeah. And James Copper, our mutual friend, has always said really good things about you as well. Yeah. He's obviously met a lot of mediums in his time, and he said that you are one that he truly believes.
I think one of two that he holds us in the highest regard.
Yeah.
Because it has to be about the evidence. Has to be about the evidence.
Yeah. I know that you've got to go. I could literally spend hours chatting. I know that we can't, and thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a real honour.
Yeah, spending some time with us.
No, it's been lovely to be here. Thank you both.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Really do appreciate it.
A pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
What a lovely lady.
She is a lovely, fantastic woman, absolutely.
And she was very generous with her time as well. I could literally have just sat and chatted for hours.
Yeah, we could have sat there all day having chat, but we had to cut it short, unfortunately.
We did, but that's okay. So, Ian, I think that about wraps up today. It's been quite a lengthy one.
It has.
Everyone knows where they can support us with the new merch store or Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
The Linktree link is, of course, in the bio of this episode. And thank you once again to the lovely Pamela Hayward. So I think that about wraps us up.
I think that's probably a good idea. We'll come back next week with story time, which, believe me, you ain't going to want to miss.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, guys, we will see you next Monday.
Catch you in a bit, guys. Bye. I just had a drink of water.
All right, I thought it was your nose.
No, just had a little glug of me old bottle of water, bro.
It's not like you at all with water.
I know, yeah. No drinking for me, apart from water.
If nothing, the surgery will make you the healthiest version of yourself yet.
That is true.